Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 31st May 2018. The first article, the Federalist Principles. It is written in the context, comparative context of USA and India. You know that in the United States of America, after every 10 years a census is taken, and the census data forms the basis for three things. One is a reallocation of the seats to lower house, that is House of Representatives, and Electoral College of President of United States of America. This Electoral College means every state will have certain Electoral College numbers, and more the numbers, the voice of the state will be greater in the election of President of USA. And the third thing is financial allocations. More the population of a state is, the greater financial allocations comes from the center for the welfare benefits. So this is how the census influence three major parameters that determine political power and economic resource sharing. In India too, after every census, the constituencies have to be readjusted. It means that the number of seats in Lok Sabha for every state needs to be readjusted. But however, it was freezed to stabilize the population. So it means larger the population of the state, greater is the incentive for it. The reason is it gets more seats in Lok Sabha. That's why it is freezed till 2026. It means readjustment of the constituencies, reallocation of the constituencies, that is the better word, can only happen after the census in 2031. Because of this, southern states are expected to lose seats in Lok Sabha. Northern states, Rajasthan, UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, these are expected to gain more seats in Lok Sabha. And obviously there is going to be heartburn in southern states. Tamil Nadu is expected to lose around 11 seats, and Kerala is expected to lose around 6 Lok Sabha seats. You know, the political power is directly proportional to the number of seats they enjoy in Lok Sabha. So in this case, there are two things. In the United States of America, the Trump administration, it wanted to take the census of the citizens rather than the residents. Previously, residents were taken into consideration to transfer the finances from the center to the states. As residents are being replaced by only citizens, obviously the immigrant states will be at a disadvantage. But the states are bound to provide for civic benefits to all residents. So that way it is going to affect the federation or federalism. And second aspect is, coming to India, the foundation of our democracy is one person, one vote, one value. Because of the freezing of reallocation of the seats to various states, one person, one vote, one value, it has lost its significance. If you take Kerala, the value of vote is much higher compared to the state of Rajasthan. Almost it is 2.5 times higher, because of increase in population of Rajasthan. So recently the 15th Finance Commission terms of reference also has come into debate, for the reason that 2011 census are going to be taken into consideration. If 2011 census are taken, southern states argue that they will be at disadvantage because of their effective implementation of population control strategies. And the third important thing is competitive federalism. So today we are talking about cooperative competitive federalism. How this competitive federalism is working in market economy. Remember, every country wants to have a taxation policy that is oriented towards the redistribution of wealth. It means weak states have to get more favors from the center compared to strong states. In competitive federalism, in a market economy, private investments go to the well-developed states. It means the inequality is being naturally built because investments favor and disfavor certain states over the others. And second, the competition or competitive criteria to allocate the central funds to the states obviously is going to benefit well-invested states which have got high growth potential. So it means the regional inequalities are bound to increase. So the competitive federalism in a neoliberal agenda is more market driven. It is meant to offer greater concessions from the states to the private business entities. Ultimately, it is going to do a disadvantage to the balanced regional development. That is one important point that is being discussed in this article. And the next, charting its own path. Now, how India wants to project its image among the Committee of Nations. So, as a responsible nuclear power or just as a nuclear power. So, when it poses itself as a nuclear power, it gets equated with Pakistan. And China has tried to do this exactly in national this nuclear suppliers group. And the second thing, India, if it wants to brand itself as a responsible nuclear power, it has to hide its strength. So this is what India is exactly doing. So it, instead of becoming and more aggressive on its nuclear stance, it is trying to gain more legitimacy from the world. So India's nuclear doctrine clearly talks about no first use. And then minimum credible deterrence. All these are in line of increasing its credibility. Now, if we see this issue from the context of nuclear non-proliferation treaty, we need to understand 2 points over here. NPT is freezed in 1968 to admit any country as a nuclear weapon state. It means simply, a country should be a nuclear powered state before 1968 to be categorized as a NWS in NPT. So, as India's nuclear testing is after that, so obviously it do not get in legitimacy under NPT. So, what can be the strategy of India? India has to hold the NPT for good across the world, but it shall keep itself away from it. This is what the strategy it is following. So, as NPT is closed, how India shall get its legitimacy? That's why it is trying to enter into NSG. Though NSG has given all the benefits to India through waiver in 2008, still it wants to become an NSG member to gain legitimacy. Similarly, India has become the member of Missile Technology Control Regime, Wassenaar, Australia Group. These are all the alternate paths India is looking for to gain its legitimacy on nuclear big table. That's what this article talks about. Reassessing Deve Gowda. Deve Gowda has served nation as Prime Minister for 10 months. In spite of this short duration, against the public perception, there are certain remarkable developments which have come during his time. One is peace in Kashmir, peace in Nagaland and Punjab. During his tenure, he was able to conduct the elections in Kashmir and also in Punjab. The ceasefire agreement which he negotiated with Nagas is still in force. It is the longest served ceasefire agreement till date. With Bangladesh, water sharing treaty, with Nepal, Mahakali treaty were signed during his tenure. And above all, Mr. Deve Gowda can be remembered for one thing, that is renewing his relations, taking forward what the Rao's government did, P.V. Narasimha Rao's government did with Israel and China. P.V. Narasimha Rao government opened relations with Israel, and the relations which are being freezed after Indo-China war was taken a new potential. Rajiv Gandhi was the first Prime Minister who visited China after Indo-China war, and then momentum has come during P.V. Narasimha Rao era. Finally, the Chinese president has visited India during Deve Gowda era. So in these circumstances, what we can say is the contribution of Deve Gowda to internal security and peace and also on external front is significant and is by and large ignored because of its short tenure. That's how this article puts it as. The people's will. So this is about Catalan issue. So you know Catalonia is a region in Spain and it wants autonomy. In this context, the local government has declared independence for itself. Mr. Quim Torra was the Prime Minister and he declared independence for Catalonia. On the other hand, Spain in its constitution clearly states that there is no right to secession for anyone. And protection of the sovereignty and territorial integrity is the responsibility of any nation state. So, Catalonia's self-expression is a democratic aspiration. And protecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity is the prime duty of any country. So here, democratic aspirations and sovereignty claims, these appears to be pitched against each other. Now this is going to be an eternal problem for the democracy or challenge for the democracy. If you see Nagaland issue, we can see the similar issue, similar problem. So that's why this is going to be a big issue for political theorists, political scientists to find a solution. Paper chase. You know that voter verifiable paper audit trail is provided for every EVM now. And in the next coming general election, it is going to be implemented in every polling booth. So, major purpose of this is to tally the votes that have come up in EVM and the votes that are there in VVPATs. But VVPATs are facing many technical glitches to the tune of 11%. Obviously, when it is so high, people will lose confidence on them. It will pose unnecessary complications to the credibility of the elections. So, Election Commission has to take a serious look to fix the glitches of voter verifiable paper audit trail. Birth pangs. This is about coalition in Karnataka. So, it is easy to form a coalition, but it is difficult to run one. So, this is what Congress and Janata Dal Secular are facing in Karnataka. India-Indonesia elevate ties. Now, India and Indonesia, these are into a comprehensive defense cooperation agreement. Their relationship is elevated from bilateral ties to strategic partnership. In the yesterday's newspaper, we also have discussed that India is going to get a chance to build a port which is going to provide it access to Malacca Strait, the busiest strait in the world. And further to this, both the countries have reiterated their support for freedom of navigation and overflight in Asia Pacific. So this statement is specifically directed towards China, especially with regard to the concerns in South China Sea. Cost of indifference, it is about Kashmir issue. Now in Kashmir, the BJP has distanced itself from the Kashmiri aspirations by overemphasizing on Article 370. BJP or else right wing argues that Article 370 is the reason for the alienation of Kashmiris. On the other hand, Kashmiris argue that this is the only connecting link for India with the Kashmiris. So in this context, Union has to gain its support from the Kashmiris. How can it happen? Can it happen through force or through greater democracy? So, history has proven again and again that the force will complicate the problems further. Dialogue, deepening of democracy will solve it. So, in this case, PDP, it has spoken about self-rule. National Conference spoken about autonomy. So, though there is significant difference between these two aspirations, these two parties have failed to represent the Kashmiri people and their wishes. Because of this, the indifference to the regular political parties have alienated them further, and use of the force made them to take up the guns against the Indian army. So, it is the time India need to build the trust with the Kashmiris by involving all the stakeholders and by deepening democracy. That's what this article talks about. ICICI Bank to inquire into allegations against Kochhar. So here, a whistleblower has complained against CEO Kochhar, and it is leading to a committee of inquiry against her, especially on the allegation of conflict of interest in providing loans to Videocon Group, to which her husband is closely associated. Finally, the notes is given and it will be posted to you at likes.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much. All the best.